there was a push specifically in 2012 to say that Mormons are Christians. In fact, I'd like to show you guys this image. This is an image from Google Trends. This is an interest in Mormonism over time. And we can see here that it hit its peak in October of 2012. And then,
well, yeah, what else hit its peak in October 2012, guys?
Well, I can't think of anything.
Isn't that
when Romney's presidency? The South Park Book of Mormon musical.
Oh, right.
I'm a Mormon campaign.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Every single one of these videos are anti-Mormon.
Look at this.
Why are
Bashing
evangelicals so obsessed with us?
So when you're put yourself in a position where you are forced to proclaim that the nature of who you worship is something you can't understand, you realize it's not a winning message. So they're mad. So they hate us, and they hate the J-Dubs, and they hate anybody who's different because they don't have anything cool to bring, but we have cool stuff to bring.
Well, and I have to say, the profit incentive is probably no small part of it.
The following is an episode of WardRadio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to WardRadio. I am your host, Cardinellis. Today I'm joined in the studio by Kwaku L. and Jonah Barnes. We've got a little bit of a debunking here in the queue of one Enyart Theology. This thumbnail has come up multiple times in my feed over the past week, and frankly, I've avoided it because we don't like picking on smaller channels. We don't punch down here on this podcast/radio program, but the guy's sporting quite a few thousand subs now, so we figure that it's time we can address this. Why? Because this video is talking about a very common anti-Mormon claim that Joseph Smith boasted to be better than Jesus, which you, being the associate professor of all things apocryphal, say, is it taken out of context? What's the deal here, Jonah? Debunk this video. Should we watch it first, or do you want to have some forward?
I think first let's watch this dude's take on it, and then we can dig into it and tell you why it's not true.
Okay, cool. Well, let's see what Enyart Theology has to say. Enyart Theology, go.
Exactly a month before he died, he said, quote, "I have more to boast of than ever any man had. I am the only man that has ever been able to keep the whole church together since the days of Adam. A large majority of the whole have stood by me. Neither Paul, John, Peter, nor Jesus ever did it.
It looks bad.
I boast that..."
Okay.
It looks bad. Don't tune out yet. We're going to debunk it.
Okay, here we go.
Looking pretty bad.
"No man ever did such a work as I. The followers of Jesus ran away from him, but the Latter-day Saints never ran away from me yet."
Okay, so that is an apparent quote from Joseph Smith. Hey, that's a smoking gun, dog. I mean, it's finished mid-sentence practically, or obviously mid-paragraph, or what mid-sermon, shall we say. So I'd like to see what the context is. But what do you say, Jonah Barnes, to Joseph Smith bragging about being better than Jesus?
Okay, so the first thing is that when you're going to base your entire, this is classic Calvinist religion, right? Base your entire belief system off of one little quote from one little thing that you found one place, and you're like, that, I'm pinning my entire salvation on that thing.
Is this guy Calvinist?
I don't, good question. I'm not sure.
We'll have to find out. Okay, keep going.
But it's just this classic, like they find one little quote that Joseph Smith said, contradicted by all of his earthly deeds, but that's not important. We're just going to go off this one quote and pretend like that is representative of him. Fine. Let's.
In all of your arguments, Kwaku, has this been in your evangelical debates? Has this been brought up a lot as well?
Not a couple times, but not really. Not really brought up.
I've seen
it before. I just never cared
people
much
do
about
this.
it.
They do this to Brigham Young. They even do this to Dallin H. Oaks or something. They'll find one thing and they go, oh.
Okay.
And it's they don't ever follow through with it. They don't ever. It's not representative of what they say, but they just freak out over it. So a couple things.
Yeah, let's not bury the lead. Let's address the claim. I mean, here's a big self-aggrandizing quote that would be not fit for a man of God if it were true. So is it true, Jonah Barnes?
So first of all, not written by Joseph Smith. Never approved by Joseph Smith. Never seen by Joseph Smith. This quote. So this quote was taken by his fans. right? Who after his death, I think it's Thomas Bullock, wrote a synopsis of his talk. And these are just kind of bullet points that are kind of scattered in there. And somebody later went in and tried to sew them together of a talk that he gave. This is a month before Joseph Smith died. So he dies, never gets a chance because everything that was published in his name in the Times and Seasons or whatever, he had to sign off on.
Wait, so just like we caught, who's the guy that we caught making the fake Brigham Young quotes with Chat GPT?
Kyle something.
Oh, yeah. Kyle Glenn Bishop. Yeah. So just he's the Kyle Glenn Bishop that made fake quotes of the 1830s.
Well, these people were fans of Joseph Smith, but they made little notes of it, and then later someone comes on, it's Game of Telephone, and they eventually come up with this quote. But still, I mean, it looks really bad. Like, what could he have been talking about? So if you read it carefully, he's actually not talking about himself. He's talking about the Latter-day Saints. What he's saying is that you people are the most loyal people in the world.
Oh, when he says, I have more to boast of than ever any man had.
He's talking about them.
He's saying, as a leader of a movement, I can say I have more to boast of than any other leader of any other movement had because I've got these beautiful people.
The best people.
Best people. Oh, I am the only man that has ever been. Yeah, totally changes the reading of this.
Doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's not saying I'm better than them. It's saying, like, you guys have stayed with me, but the people and the ancients didn't even stay with the prophets then.
You're more loyal than even the apostles of Jesus Christ. You're the best. You're the best people. I love you. That's what he's saying.
Oh, this is so sinister when you reread it in the correct light.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing. He says, I am the only man that has been ever able to keep a whole church together since the days of Adam. A large majority of you guys have stood by me. Neither Paul, John, Peter, nor Jesus ever could boast of having such loyal fans.
Yes.
You guys are so great. Like this is an Oscar acceptance
it's a big difference. Wait, can you put can you put the whole thing on camera real quick?
Okay, I'll drag down just a little bit. Okay.
This is how they're reading it. I have more to boast of than ever any man had. I am the only man that has ever been able to keep a whole church together since the days of Adam. A large majority of the whole have stood by me. Neither Paul, John, Peter, or Jesus ever did such a work. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
It's like, I have more to boast of than any man. Like, I am the only man that's ever been able to keep a whole church together since the days of Adam. A large majority of the whole have stood by. But I get it. I see.
It's a humble Oscar acceptance speech.
Like he can't believe that he's being treated like
it's you're the fans. You made this happen. I have to thank you. You're the great ones. That's what it is.
Like Jesus couldn't even do this. Like they ran away from him.
Right.
I can't believe you stood by me. Yeah, that's what it's that's the inflection he's going for.
Yeah, now there's more.
That I feel robbed of by these anti-Mormon. Like that is so cruel to change that. And the fact that usually when we debunk things, we show, okay, well, if you're informed by this historical context, you'll understand. With this, it's simply just a shift in attitude and you feel guilty for having almost believed the accusation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now there's more. There's still more. Because,
okay, keep going.
So first of all, the word boast.
I'm the most attractive man in the city. It's different in...
wait a minute.
I'm the most attractive man in the city?
This is going down.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between those two things. Yeah.
And all you plebeians. Oh, man. No,
wow. Okay, keep going.
So it goes even further. From 2 Corinthians chapters 11 and 12, Paul uses the same type of language when he says boast. Okay, and that's where the word boast comes from, is that he's boasting of his fans. So they take issue with the word boast. That comes from Paul.
Is that a statement right here that I got?
Yeah, these are the four angles that Dr. Daniel Peterson took with this and wrote a great little rebuttal of this, and it was wonderful. And I'm just kind of summing up his points. He's a far smarter man than I am. But he says that the idea of boasting comes from the Bible, right? It's Paul saying the same thing. And then the last is that it's totally inconsistent with any of his other statements. Joseph Smith never, ever says anything or does anything to be like, Jesus was nothing next to me. Like, on the complete opposite. He says the complete opposite that. He says, like this is a private letter that he wrote to his wife. This isn't public. This is a private letter he wrote to his wife when he says, I will try to be contented with my lot, knowing that God is my friend. In him I shall find comfort. I have given my life into his hands. I am prepared to go at his call. I desire to be with Christ. I count not my life dear to me, except to do his will. That's not a public speech. Oh, I'm so magnanimous. That's a private letter to his wife.
Yeah.
And his statements go on like this, like this one. Don't become limited in your views with regard to your neighbor's virtue, but beware of self-righteousness and be limited in the estimation of your own virtues and not think yourselves more righteous than others. This is actually an awesome quote, actually. This should be on fridges right here.
Yeah.
He's saying, don't underestimate how virtuous your neighbors are. Don't underestimate. Your neighbors could be very good people, and don't look down on them. Beware of self-righteousness. Like, this is the complete opposite of what Enyart Theology is trying to make Joseph Smith out to be.
Yeah, and here's the last one. Yeah, this is a good example right here.
Yeah, this one. So he says, I do not think there have been many good men on the earth since the days of Adam, but there was one good man, and his name was Jesus. Many persons think a prophet must be a great deal better than anybody else. I do not want you to think that I am very righteous, for I am not. So
wow, okay.
This is perfectly consistent with how a Christian would view Jesus Christ. He's the righteous one.
Now I'm sure that they read Daniel Peterson and the ad nauseum debunkings of every single anti-Mormon claim that's been recycled for a million years, because I haven't clicked on a lot of the videos, but I have seen videos on this quote come up on my, once you click on one anti-Mormon video,
then
Google,
they all, yeah.
So I've seen 50 people have a thumbnail pointing to some AI image of Joseph Smith saying, did you know he bragged he's better than Jesus? And they also all know like the two scriptures in Galatians. What's the top three scriptures they always quote you in your debates with evangelicals? It's like they think it's like their 1-2 punch. Like
if an angel should reveal any other gospel, that's the one they always bring up.
Yeah. And so anyway, so what else does he have to say about us Mormons?
Well, so just like this dude, probably an okay dude, like he's a young guy pastor trying to make his way, all right? But like
by make his way, do you mean establish his market share in the North American economy of priestcraft? I mean, evangelical Christianity.
Yeah, so I put a screenshot in there of his first 12 videos.
Okay.
And if you look at just the thumbnails of his first 12 videos, notice something interesting about
Oh my gosh, the key divide between Christians and Mormons explained. Even Mormons don't defend this. Joseph Smith's most evil lie. Jeez.
It's all us.
Would you ever say that about Muhammad? Oh my gosh, you're right. Every single one of these videos are anti-Mormon.
Look at this.
No, they got one Jehovah's Witness one.
They got, one Jehovah's Witness one.
They got one.
They got two Jehovah's Witness ones.
And then they have proving the Bible. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4 that are not about us out of his first 12 videos. So 75% of all his content, when he set out to make this channel, he's like, all right, I'm planning out the videos I'm going to make. 8 out of 12 of them were just bashing Mormons.
Evangelicals so obsessed with us? Like, I don't want to be AOC that's like, Republicans hate me because they can't date me. You know what I'm saying? But do evangelicals hate us? Come on. You understand their zeitgeist. You grew up in Cypress, Texas. You were in the Salt Lake City of evangelicals. You know what I'm saying? Tell us, why are they obsessed with us? Is it because they can't date us?
No, I said it before. Evangelicals are upset and they hate us because evangelicalism is inherited from American Protestantism. That's where it came from. And American Protestantism was so browbeaten and forced into bubbles and corners, they don't have the room for exciting thought.
But browbeaten by whom?
By Protestants. By each other. They're browbeaten by each other. They are forced to confess and publicly proclaim things they don't believe. For example, you must be forced to say you believe God is Trinity, and when asked about Trinity, you have to say you can't necessarily understand it because God's ways are higher than yours. So when you put yourself in a position where you are forced to proclaim that the nature of who you worship is something you can't understand, you realize it's not a winning message.
Yeah.
So the way only way you can win is having great characters like Billy Graham and Jerry Falwell, right? Great speakers, great production,
charismatic,
the charisma. But when the Mormons can come, dorky guys on bikes, not good music, secretive temples, and they're like, yeah, just read this whole book and then pray to know if it's true and get back to us. That's not a winning strategy. And then it works. You're like, how are these guys beating us? They have something we don't. Well,
so it's jealousy? You're saying it's jealousy? That's why evangelicals are so mean?
They can't bring anything interesting to the table because they're built upon a foundation of not being spiritually innovative. So And they just can't do it. That's why they hate the cults, because the cults at least are bringing cool stuff to the table, and people can go, this seems more like what Jesus was talking about. But I was raised evangelical with this weird like hybrid, like recent kind of like Kentucky mindset that wasn't what Jesus talked about. So they're mad. So they hate us, and they hate the J-Dubs, and they hate anybody who's different because they don't have anything cool to bring, but we have cool stuff to bring.
Well, and I have to say, the profit incentive is probably no small part of that. This guy's dad was a preacher. Right,
really?
Yeah, his dad was a preacher, Bob Enyart, or a theologian. I don't know what it's got some degree from some seminary, and he was debating.
Wait, so this guy right here, his dad?
This is a kid, Dominic Enyart, who seems like a nice kid. He's a young guy, just got married, and like he's trying to make his way in a horribly corrupt priestcraft industry. But his dad, his dad was a theologian or something, Bob Enyart. And anyways, there's a clip of him debating James White, and James White stabs him with the ultimate dagger in the back. See if you can catch it. Here, James White debating Bob Enyart.
Okay, here we go.
God, besides me, there is no rock I know it on any. You see, folks, I've been debating this issue from the time I started ministry, because the first people I dealt with were Mormons. And on an epistemological and ontological level, Bob Enyart's theology of God's knowledge of the future is identical to Mormonism.
Ooh.
James White hates us.
That's the ultimate diss.
The ultimate diss.
That is so funny.
Yeah, and James White hits him with that.
Okay, so I have to be careful. Like, living in California, it's very well known my position on the mainstream ruling party that starts with a D. Okay. And several times around the house, I made disparaging remarks about that mainstream ruling party that starts with a D. Okay. And I had to watch out, because one day when my daughter was playing video games and she wanted to insult somebody that was mean to her, she called him that mainstream party that starts with a D. All right. And so I'm like, does James White's children walk around just saying, the filthy Mormons?
Mormon.
Like when James White's daughter gets her driver's license for the first time and she's cut off by a bad driver, is she all of a sudden just gonna be like, oh, daddy, flip me a bird, that filthy Mormon?
That's what it sounds like, right?
You know, like we so live in their heads rent free.
Yeah,
I mean, but that's funny
because this is he's doing a formal debate with this guy, and one of his big wins is just saying, you're kind of like those Mormons, and everyone's like, that's enough of a win.
I can't believe you'd be close to a Mormon. Yeah. They're the most terrible people I've ever met. Yeah. They listen to Muslims too, and they're like fat, dumb audience. It's like, wow, you're talking like a Muslim. Well, I don't know that the Muslims are bad, and if you must be close to it's like literally.
Yes, they do.
You cousin humping Arby's eater. You need to stop right now, you idiot.
Dude, I need a Kwaku insult calculator that is similar to the Shakespearean insult calculator.
I told you guys, the Houston lunch table is all roasting. You learn how to roast so well growing up in Houston, Texas.
Well, so there's one thing that I'm so sorry that I can't find, okay? But I originally found this dude's channel because it popped up on my feed, and it said, and it was a community post. And he'll remember this. If he watches this, he'll remember this conversation because he's since deleted the post. That's why I can't find it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the people think the Book of Mormon was translated this, or think the Bible was translated like this. And it has this big flow chart. And it's like Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Japanese, Swahili, Spanish, blah, 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 to English. When actually it was like this. And it just shows Greek to English. Now, I responded to this and I said, you know that 3/4 of the Bible was not written in Greek, right? Actually, probably none of it originally was written. Maybe Luke, maybe Paul, but like, do you know that? And he's like, oh no, they were all speaking Greek. And I was like, bro,
like in Ethiopia?
Like, yeah, are you serious? Like,
wait, this guy thinks that?
Wait, did Jesus speak Aramaic?
Yeah,
and I had this discussion, and I was like, Jesus spoke Aramaic. Most of his followers were speaking Aramaic or Hebrew. And he's like, no, they were all speaking Greek. I talked to these Greek experts, and they agreed that they were all speaking Greek. And I'm like, I'm 0% surprised that a bunch of Greek Christian linguists think they were speaking Greek. Like, of course they say that. But they weren't speaking Greek, bro. They were speaking Aramaic.
Well, everyone agrees.
The weirdest thing is these people never know. Like, what's so funny is they all know those top 3 anti-Mormon evangelical verses. And we've heard them a million times. The Galatians one, the end of Revelations, where they try and act like, oh, the book was closed canon by the time Revelations came around. But when you tell them, actually, you know, there were other books written after the book of Revelation that though it's the last one in your version of the Bible, chronologically it's not. You know what I'm saying? Right. And they're like, wait, what? Yeah. I'm talking dudes with divinity degrees from these fake evangelical universities don't know this stuff, right?
Yeah. And we went down this rabbit hole and I was like, dude, like, and he just kept doubling down. I'm like, I get what you're trying to say, but he's trying to make the straw man to be like, and who's he targeting this at? He's targeting the Mormons. Oh, you guys think that the Bible was translated through all these other languages when actually it was just this clear-cut, simple Greek to English, you know, and it's 100% accurate thing. Like, it was directed towards us. And I'm like, dude, you know, if you want to argue the points of the biblical translation with us, fine. But don't make some straw man that, like, you think it went through Japanese. Nobody thinks it went through Japanese. Like,
okay, well, look, before we end this here, if you look on his website, recommended to me is the very first video. Look at that thumbnail. Mormon Jesus versus Christian Jesus. Should we just click on it and see what it says? But before we do, Kwaku, what do you wager if you were a betting man? What would you wager are his first three
Well,
arguments?
Mormons believe that Jesus and Satan are brothers. They believe that they're brothers.
Okay,
created,
or the created, not created, like silly. It's either apotheosis. They'll quote John saying, you know, the mistranslation of Logos and the misrepresentation, of Logos, the beginning of John, that Galatians verse about an angel of light, or the closed canon book of Revelation, or whatever that Spencer McNamara kid always quoted. It's like they only know like those 7 verses when it comes to Mormons.
Because they're fake divinity schools. That's the only 7 they taught them.
Yeah, exactly. So here, we're going to click on it and see.
They all spoke Greek. That Isaiah was writing in Greek? Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, so here we go. Let's see what he has to say.
Mormons are calling themselves Christians, but it hasn't always been...
Wait, we're calling ourselves...
Christians?
Yeah.
Christians. He said it weird.
Yeah,
Christians.
Wait, let's try that again.
Mormons are calling themselves Christians, but it hasn't always been this way. Only relatively recently did Mormons start branding themselves as Christians.
Okay, so I guess that was maybe just some kind of impediment he has there. I thought it was some kind of like mockery of what we were trying to say. And I was like, wait, no. But from the very beginning, the church was formed as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1840. No, it was in 1830 that it was formed.
Yeah.
So we're coming on 200 years strong of being the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So that first claim is wildly inaccurate or ignorant. I don't know which one.
Now, if you remember, Joseph Smith himself said, he said, they asked him, how do you know you're a prophet? What makes a prophet? And you say you're a prophet. And what did he say? He said, the spirit of prophecy is testimony of Jesus. Everyone who has a testimony of Jesus is a prophet in their own way. That's how I'm a prophet, because I have a testimony of Jesus. Nobody was bigger on Jesus than Joseph Smith. And here he's saying, they think they're
and
Christians.
60 second. Well, look, we only got another minute here before our hard out. So here's a 60-second audit of just the first video that comes up about Mormons, and we'll see what else he has to say.
There was a push specifically in 2012 to say that Mormons are Christians. In fact, I'd like to show you guys this image. This is an image from Google Trends. This is an interest in Mormonism over time. And we can see here that it hit its peak in October of 2012. And then,
well, yeah, what else hit its peak in October 2012, guys?
Well, I can't think of anything.
Isn't that
when Romney's presidency? The South Park Book of Mormon musical.
Oh, right.
I'm a Mormon campaign.
I was about to say the I Am a Mormon campaign was huge in 2012, wasn't it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, no, it was
and Mitt
literally
Romney.
Mitt Romney, the Book of Mormon musical, and I'm Mormon. Those 3 things are happening. So yeah, everyone's talking about Mormons.
Okay. Now, do you guys remember, is it rule number 13 of anti-Mormons that they can never withstand a 30-second Google search? Their arguments can never withstand a 30-second Google search. I'm going to type in here, when did Mitt Romney run for president? And I would argue
2012 election.
Oh, Willard Mitt Romney. It said March 12th, 1947. Oh no, that's his dad. Look at this. Ballotpedia. Romney was the 2012 Republican nominee for President of the United States of America. Does it surprise you that Mitt Romney of the Republican Party, who was a U.S. Senator from Utah now, ran in 2012 right here, according to Ballotpedia. Yep. So this dude's argument, literally right here, this guy who supposedly, I don't know, is going to be sporting a divinity degree here sometime soon, literally pulls up a graph, okay? The dude straight up pulls up a graph to say that the 2012 spike in Google searches for the term Mormonism was demonstrative of some kind of nefarious misrepresentation of the Mormon Church's faith, and not the fact that the most powerful office in the world of the greatest military might of the world was going to be threatened by a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka Mitt Romney. Yeah, maybe a lot of people started Googling what in the heck are Mormons, because this guy might just be our next, who's head of the army again? Not chief of command, joint chiefs of staff, commander-in-chief. He might be our next commander-in-chief. This is absolutely asinine.
Now remember, we've been calling ourselves the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints 150 years before evangelicism existed. Before it was even invented, we've been calling ourselves the Church of Jesus Christ.
Okay,
so, anyways, but this is just proof that these evangelical online dudes, you start a channel, the first 10 videos are all anti-Mormon videos. That's how you get your start.
Also, I know we got to go, but that's like, go anywhere. Go to First Baptist Church of San Fernando Valley. And then they have an ad one day on YouTube. Come celebrate with Christians at First Baptist. Well, looks like they're calling themselves Christians now. I thought you was the First Baptist Church of San Fernando Valley.
Sounds like a rebrand.
Yeah. Okay. So let us know what you guys think. Are we off our rocker? Is homeboy on his? Okay. And is that 2012 spike of interest on Google evidence of our covert implementation of a sinister plot to be included in the body of Christ? Yeah. Or maybe is it just the fact that Mitt Romney was running for president and that's a natural consequence of, an election year? Okay.
Gosh, these guys are this is the dumbest things ever. What are you mad at? You're mad that, on 2012, people Googled them. Well, you're so mad. Wow. It proves they're false because people Googled us, you friggin' weirdo.
It's so bad. So anyway, let us know if what we're saying is true. Let us know if you think we're wrong. And I have to tell you, Enyart Theology, you know what? We'll pay for your flight out here, put you up in a hotel if you feel that you have been misrepresented and that
No, they never do. They're cowards. They never, ever,
even though they're cowardly, we be brave and we offer them the spot, okay? And even though they may not give grace to us, we will give grace to them. And we also do say that we know all evangelicals aren't this way. There's just something about the leadership of the movement that seems to be wildly anti-Mormon.
Right.
That and there's a difference between the pew and the pastor.
Yep.
And there is an unfortunate ethos in North American Christianity, especially evangelical Christianity, where it's permissible amongst evangelical leadership to say things about Mormons you would never dream of saying about Jews. And that needs to stop, frankly. And it needs to stop by people like Enyart Theology stopping and cowboying up and becoming the religious leader that God supposedly called him to be, instead of a knuckle-dragging troglodyte pigsty of just anti-Mormon filth on the internet. Okay. So that was my attempt at a Shakespearean insult, and it didn't go very well. So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below, if we're wrong or if we're right. And as always, for this or more and more, please check us out at WardRadio.com.